Hello, welcome back. Sean here, Mountains Garage, on a sunny, somewhat chilly morning here in the state of Maine. And this morning, I was doing what I had to do to make a tool to service my strange floater rear end setup in the Race 55 Chevy. I received the missing shim, so I had to pull the driver's side back apart, the only side I had taken apart so far. I still have to tackle the passenger side where the threads are rusty and everything else, but now at least I have all the tools laid out. But what I didn't have, and what is no longer available, at least from Strange, because now, armed with the instructions on how to actually assemble this, I'm dangerous. And they used to sell a spindle nut socket that they have told me they don't carry anymore, and I have the part number and I was unable to find it. But in online, I was at the Rick Jones Chassis Quartermax is the name of their site, and they sell a tool with multiple bolt patterns for different spindle nuts. So they used pins, I used 1/4 inch bolts, but the end result is the same. I went ahead and tapped all four, but reading the instructions, you only torque this to 20 foot-pounds and then back it off to where there's no end play and it spins freely to set the lock tab, and that's all that holds this on it. Well, what's the current door car record? Mile per hour, 276 miles an hour. And this is what's holding your wheel on. Well, that and the caliper, I guess, but anyway, that's here and there. Smarter people than I have figured out that's all I need. Now in a big truck on the rear, there's usually 2 of these. On the front, I guess sometimes there's only 1. So what I did is I found a piece of metal, steel, because I figured I was going to be welding on some kind of drive mechanism, and while I can make a square hole in the mill, welding on an unplated nut is certainly a lot easier. But first I just had the round blank from my pile of scrap, and I put it in the lathe. After I set this on there and kind of eyeballed where the middle would be. Put a couple marks with my marker, and then on the lathe I just touched it with the cutter, so at least I had a ring to work with. And then I, haphazardly, well, I did the best I could without doing any accurate measurement. There is a correct way to do this. I did not do that. It's a very low speed, low stress tool. And I think I did a pretty good job. Those 1/4 inch bolts, I didn't have any 1/4 inch pins, and the bolts were a lot easier and replaceable. That is a nice drive system there. And I had to bore, I went ahead and used 1/2 inch because I knew my unplated nuts, a 1/2 inch. And I put a bolt in there first to put it in the lathe because I had to reduce the diameter so it would actually fit inside the hub, which it does perfectly. And now I'm ready to assemble that. But thinking about the time I just spent making this tool, which is probably, let's just call it 2 hours. Maybe more. But let's just say 2 hours. 2 hours of shop time. I could have been doing something else. As I get older, well, let's start with when I was younger. Buying one was completely out of the question, never even entered my mind because there was just no extra available money. Not that there is a whole lot now, but if this tool was, well, the other day I spent $28 on a 4-wheel drive spindle socket, hoping it was the right one, and it wasn't. I'll add it to my collection, even though I think it's a duplicate. Maybe I'll send it back. But anyway, I was willing to spend, the money just to buy a tool that worked instead of stopping all forward progress on everything else to make a tool. Now that is completely foreign to me. Not something that I'll probably ever get used to, even if I had money, and I don't. But some things, like for instance, I'm pretty sure this morning my buddy's coming to buy my bead roller. And with my dedication to sheet metal tools, I'm certainly not going to be without a bead roller, which is what puts the icing on the cake. There goes the heater. I'll be back. All right, the heat's off and we're warm again. I wasn't cold anyway, but it's smarter than I am. My point is, I'm never going to be comfortable buying something I can make. Ever. But it's not realistic to always build everything. I would never get anything else done. There's responsibility stuff I got to do to actually, afford to keep the lights on and fund the fun stuff, which is what I want to spend all my time doing. But as we all know, that's not how life works. So, on a whim yesterday, well, I've been studying and searching and shopping for a replacement bead roller, knowing full well when I get back from vacation, mine was going to be gone, and I'd have that money available to buy another one. Back a few years ago, when I redid the one that I'm selling today, plus I built one out of the cheapest bead roller you could buy that's still available everywhere, that requires a lot of work to make it functional to a certain level of, proficiency anyway. So I did that and know all the steps. And thinking about it this time, I was weighing whether I wanted to once again pause everything else to do that, or go ahead and just spend the money I just got from selling mine, which is what I did. So I'm feeling kind of guilty about it, but it'll only require hopefully a few modifications, and I'm going to cover all that in a different video. But back to my tool. And in these videos I do like this with shop updates or whatever I call them, it's all about living most of your life in the garage and all the things that come and go and thought processes. So that's pretty much what these videos are about. We visit different subjects, but a lot of times it's also about the experience. So I desperately want to be a good TIG welder, and in some areas I'm pretty good. Most of the time I cause my own problems. For instance, my MIG welder argon CO2 regulator, I have that set, and proper regulator maintenance, you should back that off every time. And for my MIG, I think I started doing that, and then I went back to not backing it off every time, because it doesn't leak. It does sit there with pressure on it for months and months and months without using it. But I've never even changed the adjustment or check it, and it works fine. It's, somewhat less finicky than TIG welding. Now, I have a new dual argon regulator that I put on my TIG welder, but in the past when my bottle got low, I also experienced problems. I've been religiously backing that one off, back the regulator off so the spring doesn't have tension on it. And I put a cheat mark on it where 25 CFH was. Well, certainly with my bottle I currently have anyway, that changes when the bottle gets lower in pressure. The regulator is not responsive enough to maintain the same. You think if you still have 1200 psi of pressure that the regulator can hold whatever 35 CFH is for pressure, 25 CFH. So I've learned I gotta reset and check that every time, and I've done that, and I haven't had any TIG welding problems since. I was getting the fizzles where you don't have enough gas coverage, and as a lot of things shop related, it takes you a second to realize where your mistake is, because you're making the mistake. So this welded up fantastic, and it's now a functional tool. Somewhat in that same thought process or same vein, I'm sitting on the stool, the shop stool that I broke a few weeks ago. And I decided, a lot of people ask me just to film everything I do, and I think that would be cumbersome and hard to do for one thing, and two, I'm not sure anybody would ever watch it. I don't want to run people away. I'd like for them to come here with some interest anyway. So anyway, I did film me assembling the replacement stool and ultimately fixing the one I'm sitting on. So I'm going to insert that right here. While on vacation in Florida, I calculated the days till I got home and how long it would take to have a new shop stool shipped to me, and I went ahead and ordered one. Is this some kind of joke? Other than a hole in the package and maybe the rest of it fell out, I don't see how this little box made in China, can contain something this size. But let me rip into it and find out. I don't see how, unless you are an employee at the Wonka factory, how is this thing going to reach the floor? I don't understand. But I guess we're going to find out. Oompa, loompa, loompa-dee-doo. Well, it's cute and all, but that's all the way up. My only hope is maybe I could take the base off the broken one and make one out of the two. Let's give that a try. Or here's a novel idea. Take the old one apart, grind up the broken piece and TIG weld it. Welding this old nasty chrome plated stuff, it welds better than probably the race car will. All the while sitting on your new stool. This is full height, let me let it down. It's gonna come in handy for something. I'm sure it is. I just don't know what yet. Maybe working on jack stands. Or maybe when I need to get down low. I don't know. It was $54, pretty much down the drain. I guess I own it now, but it inspired me to fix my old one. Look at that weld. Fantastic. All right, so here's what we're up against. This stool is Chinese, vintage 2007. Probably in the $50 range, I don't remember. Here's modern day, what $54 get you, this twisted, bent, disappointing piece of junk. I guess I'll find a use for it. These are both led all the way down. They both go up. But the distance, no, they don't compensate. So I got to toot my own horn here. I had to weld the hub back in the middle, and it could have wobbled when I was done. If I was doing a wheel center, it would probably wobble. This thing is flawless. I should put a dial indicator on it. Never happen again. So now in future videos, there's slightly less creaking of my shop stool. The thing was telling me it was giving up. If you watch the videos for the last year and a half, every time I'd move, you'd get a creaking noise. Well, it was breaking in half. On that same note, I'm going to go eat breakfast now. Further stressing out my stool, I watched the end of Sick Week, the Drag and Drive event in Florida. It ended last night, back where it started, at Orlando Speed World, where I went last Sunday during Tech Day, if you saw that video. And it was kind of cool. Michael Westberg, the Swedish guy with the square body S10, won the unlimited class and was the overall quickest vehicle all week. I think he ran 640 ET, quarter mile, every day, give or take. He had the fastest average in his class. There's different classes, there's lots of classes, but they also crown an overall winner, the quickest car all week, and that was him. Truck, technically, I suppose, but. And again, he fixed his Turbo 400 the day before the event by watching YouTube videos. I'm gonna send him a message when things settle out. He sold the truck, and he even went back up at the end. He was the last vehicle to make a pass at the event yesterday, trying to go even quicker, which I always get kind of weird when I know something's sold, you know, just doing it one more time, but he's brave enough. Those guys are crazy anyway. He was trying to go 630 probably, so it didn't happen. He won a 650, and that was the end of the event. And he's taken the truck apart, and I guess it's going to the new owner on Monday. So that's pretty cool. He's gonna have a new car. So have a great day. And next video is probably going to be bead roller related. I did purchase it yesterday after lunch, and it's supposed to be here tomorrow, Sunday, FedEx. Realistically, there's 4 pieces. If I get all 4 by Tuesday, I'll be still pretty happy. So, all right, catch you later.